You have been taught to push, to try harder, to lean forward into the future, as if reality were something that must be convinced to cooperate. But listen closely. The reason nothing seems to move is not because you are weak. It is because you are loud in the wrong way. Here is the truth few ever say out loud. Force is not power. Force is a signal of misalignment. And the moment you truly see this, something ancient inside you begins to soften. You can feel it right now if you're honest. That subtle tension in your chest, the mental pressure to figure it out, the urgency whispering that if you stop trying, everything will fall apart. This state feels responsible. It feels, productive. It feels like survival. But energetically, it is incoherent. You are broadcasting one message with your thoughts and a completely different message with your nervous system. Your mind says, I want this. Your body says, I am not safe without it. And reality always responds to the louder signal. This is where most manifestation teachings quietly fail you. They teach intention, visualization, repetition. But they do not teach regulation, because manifestation does not begin in the mind. It begins in the body. Force appears the moment your nervous system no longer feels safe in the present moment. It shows up as urgency, as pressure, as the feeling that time is running out and you must act now or lose everything. This is not intuition. This is stress wearing a spiritual costume. From a neurobiological perspective, this state is clear. The brain shifts into high beta. Cortisol floods the system. Perception narrows. You stop seeing possibility. You start scanning for threat. And when perception narrows, the field narrows with it. The quantum field does not resist you. It regulates you. When it receives instability, it slows movement, not as punishment, but as correction. Delay is not rejection. Delay is coherence, trying to return. This is why forcing never feels clean. You may get short-term results, but they come with exhaustion, friction, or collapse, because force assumes resistance. And the moment you assume resistance, you create the very thing you are trying to overcome. Alignment works differently. Alignment does not lean into the future. Alignment settles into the present. Think of the last time you felt truly aligned, not excited, not hyped, not desperate, just steady. Your breath was slower. Your attention was wide. You were not managing timing. Action felt obvious. Rest felt allowed. Nothing was being chased. This is not laziness. This is coherence. Ancient traditions knew this long before neuroscience could explain it. The Taoists called it Wu Wei, action without force. Mystics called it surrender, not giving up, but releasing resistance. Modern physics calls it coherence, when systems synchronize and energy moves with minimal loss. Different languages, same truth. When thought, emotion, and body send the same signal, reality responds without friction. But here is the uncomfortable part. When force begins to dissolve, it can feel like nothing is happening. This is where most people panic. They mistake the absence of urgency for stagnation. They mistake calm for delay. They rush to reintroduce effort. But what is actually happening is subtler. The noise is dropping, and for the first time, reality can hear you clearly. You cannot force yourself into alignment. Trying to relax is still control. Trying to let go is still effort. Alignment happens only when the nervous system realizes that safety no longer depends on control. When that recognition lands, effort dissolves on its own, and something extraordinary happens. Reality stops needing to be pushed. The most powerful creators are not intense. They are steady. They do not chase the future. They position themselves so the future recognizes them. They do not convince reality. They allow reality to meet them where they already are. And this is the doorway. Because the moment force disappears internally, movement becomes inevitable externally. And this is only the beginning. Here is what almost no one tells you. Reality does not respond to what you want. It responds to what your nervous system believes is safe. This is why two people can desire the same outcome, use the same techniques, say the same affirmations, and experience completely different results. Because manifestation is not a mental process. It is a biological permission slip. You can say you are ready for abundance. You can visualize love. You can script the future perfectly. But if your nervous system associates those outcomes with threat, nothing moves. Not because you are blocked, but because your body is protecting you. Protection always overrides intention. Your nervous system learned its rules long before you had words for them. It learned from moments when effort was required to survive, from times when rest was not allowed, from experiences where control meant safety. So now, when you stop forcing, the system gets confused. It asks, if we're not trying, are we in danger? This is why alignment feels uncomfortable at first. Not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. From a neuroscience perspective, this is precise. When the nervous system perceives safety, the vagus nerve activates. Heart rate slows. Breath deepens. The brain shifts out of survival mode, and perception expands. Expanded perception creates expanded possibility. This is not philosophy. This is physiology. Quantum physics mirrors this truth in its own language. Particles do not behave independently. They respond to the field, and the field is shaped by coherence. When signals are aligned, systems synchronize effortlessly. When signals conflict, energy scatters. Your body is not separate from this principle. You are a field interacting with fields, and the state of your nervous system is the tuning fork. This is why forcing creates noise. The mind reaches forward. The body braces backward. One signal says move. The other says defend. Reality receives contradiction, and contradiction creates delay, not as punishment, as stabilization. Alignment feels radically different. There is focus, but no tension. Certainty, but no urgency. Action, but no inner argument. You stop managing outcomes. You start responding to invitations, and this is subtle, but everything changes here. When you are aligned, you do not ask, how do I make this happen? You ask, what is being made obvious right now? The second question requires presence. Presence is impossible in survival mode. This is why urgency is the enemy of alignment. Urgency collapses time. Alignment expands it. At first, this state feels quiet. Too quiet. The mind, addicted to effort, starts narrating. Nothing is happening. You're falling behind. You should be doing more. This is the withdrawal phase, not from productivity, from control. If you stay here long enough, something unexpected occurs. Reality begins to move on its own. Opportunities appear without friction. Conversations land at the right moment. Timing stops needing management. Not because you did something, but because you stopped interfering. This is the moment manifestation stops feeling mystical and starts feeling mechanical. Clean input. Clean output. This is dangerous knowledge for one reason. Once you feel this difference, you can never go back to forcing without noticing the cost. Your body will tell you immediately. Tight chest, shallow breath, mental noise. And you will know, this isn't power. This is fear, pretending to be discipline. This is why the most aligned people appear calm, even when reality moves quickly around them. Speed without urgency, motion without strain. They are not lucky. They are regulated. And regulation is magnetic. In the next section, we go deeper into how alignment restructures identity itself, why effort-based identity dissolves, and how reality begins to mirror who you are being, not what you are asking for. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when alignment stops being something you do and becomes something you are. This is where manifestation turns irreversible, because reality does not respond to desire for long. It responds to identity. As long as you see yourself as someone who is trying to align, you are still signaling separation. Trying implies distance. Trying implies lack. Trying implies that the future holds something the present does not. Reality mirrors this faithfully, not cruelly, precisely. But alignment restructures identity at the root. You stop being the person who needs proof. You stop being the one who waits for permission. You stop being the one who measures worth through effort. And this is subtle, but absolute. The nervous system no longer asks, "Is this safe?" It knows. This is why aligned people often struggle to explain their results. They didn't do anything dramatic. They stopped leaking energy. They stopped rehearsing fear. Stopped negotiating with time. Stopped proving readiness through exhaustion. They became internally consistent. And consistency is gravity. From a psychological standpoint, this is identity coherence. When self-image, emotional baseline, and expectation align, the brain predicts success as normal, and the brain always works to confirm its predictions. From a quantum lens, this is observer stability. A stable observer collapses probability faster. Different frameworks, same mechanics. This is where force-based identity dissolves. The identity built on struggle panics here, because struggle gave it meaning. Effort made it feel valuable. Urgency made it feel alive. So when alignment arrives, the ego whispers, "You're becoming passive. You're losing your edge. You should be doing more." This is the last test. Alignment is not passive. It is efficient. It removes unnecessary motion, like a river that no longer fights the terrain because it understands gravity better than resistance. You still act, but action emerges from clarity, not anxiety. This is where timing becomes uncanny. You don't rush. yet nothing is late. You don't chase, yet nothing escapes. Because when identity aligns, reality recognizes you as a match. No persuasion required. This is also where detachment appears, but not the cold kind. You care deeply, but you are no longer entangled. You stop gripping outcomes to feel secure. Security becomes internal. And when security moves inside, attraction moves outside. This is why aligned people feel dangerous to old systems. They cannot be manipulated through fear. They cannot be rushed through scarcity. They cannot be controlled through urgency. They move when movement is correct, and wait without anxiety. If this resonates, pause here. Notice your body, the absence of pressure, the slowing of thought, the quiet recognition that something inside you already knows this. If this resonates, share it in the comments. It helps this message reach more seekers, because truth only spreads when those who feel it allow it to move. In the final section, everything converges. Force collapses fully. Alignment stabilizes. And reality begins responding so cleanly it feels unreal. Not because you mastered manifestation, but because you stopped interrupting it. There is a final shift. Not dramatic, not explosive, so quiet that most people miss it entirely. It is the moment you stop asking reality to change and realize it already has. At this stage, force does not return, not because you are resisting it, but because it no longer makes sense. Trying feels inefficient. Urgency feels artificial. The nervous system has learned a new baseline: presence. You are no longer orienting toward the future. You are inhabiting the now so fully that the future reorganizes itself around you. This is the paradox that sounds mystical until you feel it. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is the highest signal clarity. In physics, the most stable systems move with the least energy loss. In consciousness, the same law applies. When you stop leaking energy through fear, through anticipation, through rehearsal of worst-case scenarios, that energy becomes available, and availability is power. This is why reality begins to respond cleanly. No dramatic signs, no fireworks, just precision. The right message arrives at the right moment. A door opens without struggle. A decision lands without debate. You don't celebrate. You nod. Because it feels correct. This is the still point, the place where nothing is forced and nothing is delayed, where effort has been replaced by accuracy, where desire has softened into knowing. Ancient texts called this the eye of the needle. Modern neuroscience calls it baseline regulation. Quantum theory calls it coherence collapse. Different metaphors, same destination. Here is the truth that lingers when the noise is gone. Reality does not need your intensity. It needs your alignment. The universe does not respond to effort. It responds to clarity. And clarity only appears when you stop shaking the signal. This is why the journey ends where it began. In the body, in the breath, in the present moment that never needed improvement. You were never meant to force reality. You were meant to become the place where reality moves easily. And once you feel this, really feel it, you cannot unfeel it, because the future no longer feels distant.